All right, welcome to BuffaloPlus.com as well as Buffalo Plus on YouTube. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Some news of the day as the Bills defensive lineman Ed Oliver was arrested under charges of driving while intoxicated as well as unlawfully carrying a weapon on Saturday in Texas. Mike, what do you make of this and what do you think the effect will be on the team?
Well, it's a big mistake. We all know this, right? He's driving under the influence. He failed the sobriety test. Now, I don't know every circumstance. None of us do at the moment, but it appears to be that he violated the law. And in those circumstances, this is true of everybody, but in a position that he's in with not just what he has at stake, what's available to him, he's got to know that was really, really, really a bad thing to do. Fortunately, nobody was injured. There was no accident, but it's bad. And I think the team's they're going to be angry with him. I think they think a lot of Ed Oliver. And I think they think, even though he came around last year, the second half of the year, I thought he played really well on the football side, but I think they think he came around. You guys remember when he sort of got pushed out of the starting lineup and then he responded. And what's he said, Dan? He said that really helped him. I think he needs that. I think Beane and McDermott are going to be all over him about this.
Couldn't agree more, Mike, because look, we all make mistakes. Unfortunately, we're not all professional athletes, like you said, and not all of our mistakes make the front page of ESPN and the front page of websites, and most of them are not even recorded. And there's the video of him doing the field sobriety test and all. I mean, it's embarrassing. I'm sure that's the first thing Ed Oliver will say. It's embarrassing that you have a beer can in between your legs when a cop pulls you over. It's embarrassing to have the firearm. Now, it's not illegal to have a firearm in Texas. Everybody pretty much has a gun in Texas. It's illegal to have the firearm while you're committing another crime. So this isn't that he had a gun when he shouldn't have had one, but that's besides the point. Mike, like you were saying with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, this is a knock or a chink in the armor of their culture that they've been working so hard to build, whether it's good players in the community, they're good teammates, they're good guys in the locker room. This is a black eye on that, especially leading into a season that is crucial with expectations. And you don't want this to be the first crumble of the foundation that is this McDermott Beane process and what this team's built on. Look, Josh Allen made mistakes too. He had the tweets right before he got drafted. None of these players are perfect. We're not perfect. But it is just one of those moments where this is completely avoidable if you're Ed Oliver.
Yeah, and you got to think just the fact that, he was the Bills' first pick last year. He was selected at 9th overall. He was a guy that the Bills had a lot of high hopes. And like you said, everyone makes mistakes and he's definitely been caught. And, this is something where, like you said, it's making the news. But I think also what a lot of Bills fans are wondering is just how is this going to affect the team in terms of actually on the field play, Mike? What can we expect? What type of punishment will the NFL maybe have for Oliver?
Yeah, I think he's going to get at least 2 games. I think that's the way it's going to play out. Again, with the NFL, with some of these punishments, you never really are 100% sure. But I think you can almost assume that at this point. Maybe he'll get more, and maybe it gets appealed. Some of it, a very little bit of it, is how it sort of plays out. But the NFL sort of goes by the legal process. Once this is the case, then it becomes something that they're looking into. It's going to hurt the team, obviously, because he's one of their best players. And we start out the season, as Dan said, with all these other things going positively for them, where you got that very avoidable mistake. The other thing about it is I think his teammates are going to be mad at him. I really do.
Right?
And I've heard fans say there's going to be something he can learn from. And all that is true. Mm-hmm. But you learn from it basically after you are punished. I mean, it's not – yes, I'm sure right now he regrets it. I'm sure right now he wishes he did something else. He's got to take the heat for what he did, and I think he's a smart enough guy that he will learn from it, but the punishment's going to come before the lesson comes.
Yeah. Well, Mike, that's exactly right. I think anger is probably the best way to teammates. It's that, dude, come on moment. Our last blog that we were just talking about, guys, was about Josh Allen being a dark horse MVP, and now we quickly switched to a player getting a DUI with gun charges. This is not the media attention they want. They've gotten plenty of positive, and everything seems to be going one way. And all of a sudden, as the team seems to take 2 steps forward, Ed makes them take a step back. And I think that's where it is. It's a selfish move. I think that's the first thing that the team will be upset about, is because they're all about the team and culture, and you don't want this to become a trend. I think that's it. And you're right, Mike, I agree with everything you're saying, and the fans saying that he can learn from this. Unfortunately, I don't mean to bring up another defensive tackle in Buffalo that had issues, but Marcel Darius didn't learn from all of his issues, unfortunately. Yeah. And at times they really unraveled and became a sideshow and became a distraction. This team has done so good at keeping everything inside. There aren't nearly as many leaks as there were before Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott got there. Now, all of a sudden, you don't want this to be, the crack in the dam that things start to get out of control. That's all.
And it's interesting you say that, just because because of how different the culture is, I think the expectations are that won't be the case. But it is interesting because this is the period of time that every NFL coach, the staff, are worried about, because the guys are on their own, and now it's obviously quarantine. It's before the start of training camp. I wonder what the internal messaging is between the staff and the team, just about what expectations have now been set. And it's kind of like, I have siblings. Dan, you have siblings. Mike, you have siblings. When you see your brother, your sister get in trouble, and you're like, oh, it makes everyone else wake up, because, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jenna. I think it's one of those warnings for everybody, because guaranteed, to your point, the message isn't going to only go out to Ed Oliver. It's going to go out to the entire team. And they're going to have seen it with their teammate, a prominent guy on the team that has gotten in trouble like that. I think, you mentioned Marcel Darius, and his career started to really go downhill. As a talented guy, much like, Ed Oliver is, I think it sort of became who Marcel was, but he also did not have the structure around him that this team does. He didn't have the team.
100%.
He had an organization that was very loose in that way. That's not the Bills. And look, I don't want to make this like Ed Oliver's the only guy to ever make a mistake. I just don't like to go to the next point, which is he'll learn from it. It could have been worse. All those things are true. But I'm sorry, you're going to get punished, right? It's like, you get caught speeding in the car and mom and dad take it away from you. You're sorry, you regret it, all those things. But guess what? You're not driving for 3 weeks. I mean, he's got to have the punishment. I think that sinks in a little bit more. But the NFL's had so many issues through the years. They basically have this written out, and I think that part he's going to have to deal with, and the whole team will have to deal with it. And look, football-wise, you scheme things, you do things. That's almost another subject, because guys get hurt, they miss a game or two, that happens. It's the reason this is happening. And what Jenna was saying in the beginning, this offseason has been, full steam ahead, and now it's going backwards a little.
I think that's so great point by Jenna, because it's so funny, because this has been such an unconventional offseason that we always used to joke around that this is the time of the year when coaches and GMs hold their breath. Yeah. Or when they break OTAs before they come back to training camp. Like, guys, this is it. Like, please just be, and we've seen Ed Oliver ride his horse up and down on Instagram, and we go, oh, look at Ed, he's riding his horse. And then you see this, and it's just like, it's one of those moments where everybody woke up this morning, especially Bills fans, even fans around the league, and went, really? Like, oh, come on. Like, that was kind of how you read that police report and you're like, really?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, obviously it'll be a couple, I would expect, weeks, months before we figure out the exact punishment of what the, suspensions would be. But make sure to subscribe to BuffaloPlus.com as well as Buffalo Plus on YouTube. For Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I'm Jenna Cottrell.